Taxpayer watchdog group White Coat Waste, say that 10 times fast, says they've obtained documents showing the National Institute on Drug Abuse, which is part of the National Institutes of Health, or the NIH, ran 2 experiments from 2020 and 2021 involving beagle puppies. These puppies were reportedly dosed with cocaine again and again for months, along with an experimental compound to see how the 2 drugs interacted. And the experiments cost $2.3 million. This, according to documents obtained by White Coat Waste through the Freedom of Information Act. What in the world is going on with these experiments with on beagles and puppies? I mean, it just seems. What in the world is going on here? I mean, This is just so heartbreaking.
Cruelty. Yeah, and horrible cruelty. And giving cocaine to beagles, to rats, to mice, to all sorts of animals through experiments is something that they've done for decades now. And to what end? So the argument, of course, is they need to test whether or not whatever drug it was they're testing it up against interacts in a negative way with cocaine, so that they can warn people
not to take cocaine.
Not take cocaine. But what a lot of opponents who don't take the moral version of this is just awful and shouldn't be done, they say pragmatically, we know enough kind of about brain chemistry and biology that we can figure this stuff out without doing this. And that a lot of this is just box checking. Mm-hmm. That in order to qualify through particular steps, you have to have done a particular animal experiment, even if you can determine what you need to learn through some other avenue. And that to me is one of the cruelest parts of this stuff. If it is actually completely unnecessary. So then that's setting aside all of the cruelty and everything else. It might even be completely pointless.
I'm going to say something that's probably controversial. Why don't we just test it on humans? Animals can't consent to be tested on, but I'm sure somebody would be like, yeah, I'll take cocaine and drugs. Give me $10,000 or something.
They might die.
Well, yes, and we shouldn't do it on anyone without their permission. But a dog can't. If you buy consent, the theory of consent, a human being can just agree to do it.
If you combine that with our levels of poverty, that becomes quite dystopian, because you already have people who are surviving by selling their plasma. Mm-hmm. Now you would be setting up a situation where people, in order to make ends meet, would be routinely putting their lives and health at risk in ways that would end up getting them killed.
I mean, they already do that.
Yeah,
right, but not like, here, we'll give you $50 if you, if you electrocute yourself while high on cocaine and see if you die. I don't know, Kim, what do you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm totally against all of this animal testing. I don't like any of it whatsoever. I understand that there are these boxes that they have to check before they can go through FDA approval process. They have to say, oh, did you do your experiments on animals, and which animals and for how long and how did it turn out and whatnot. But I see what Robbie is saying. Definitely a human could at least consent, an animal can't. I go through this myself with my own pets. I think about, what if they were to get cancer? Would I actually put them through cancer treatments and whatnot when they don't even know what's happening to them and they can't consent to it, and I can't explain to them, I'm sorry, I'm poisoning you, but it's for your own good, I promise, right? I mean, I can't have that conversation with my dog, but you can have that conversation with a person, and you say, look, this might not be good. There's all these side effects to these treatments, but it's for your own good eventually. We do that when it comes to medical treatment. But I also see your point, Ryan. I see that then there would be a lot of desperate people. I mean, we see this in Africa, for example. The reports that we're getting out of Africa for vaccine hesitancy when it comes to COVID vaccines is they say, look, you guys experiment on us a lot for money. Governments over there will take a large amount of money and allow their population to be experimented on. And that has caused a lot of hesitancy just with pharmaceuticals in general. And so, I get it. That's also a big problem when poverty drives this kind of inhumane and unethical experimentation. But it's certainly inhumane and unethical to do it on unconsenting animals. And the fact, I think what's happening here is, they're bringing up the puppies. We know that there's other animals that they're experimenting on, but all of us feel, the 3 of us all have a dog. And so we feel extra Like, it's one thing when you find out they're doing it on rats. Even when they're experimenting on monkeys, we're not so emotionally connected. But with a dog, and then they say beagles, and we're just sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, because we know what it's like having a family member like this in our lives.
Dogs are man's best friend. The dog as an animal is, has been raised and socialized alongside human beings. We have this long connection to the animal. I think I don't think it's arbitrary to treat dogs as different and distinct from most other animals. And then also intelligence is a kind of proxy for, like experiments on dolphins would seem very unethical, or experiments on the more sophisticated, intelligent, emotional the animals are. I think the more they're suffering, or the more horrified we should be at their suffering. I mean, it's not.
Well,
you step on a caterpillar, it's not right. It's not the same. I don't know.
Kill bugs either. I don't like. I'm not a vegetarian. I should be. I ethically keep wanting to be one. Believe me, but still, I don't think that just because an animal is or a person is dumb, then therefore it's okay. You don't know really what's happening to you because you're not fully mentally aware, and so therefore it's fine to put you through pain and torture, right? I mean, it's unethical no matter what. If they can feel, I think
there's a sliding scale of it a little bit. But I don't know. I mean, it's a hard thing to. I don't know.
Well, I don't know why we have to do any of it at all at this point in our scientific development.
Yeah, I think you could get rid of 90% plus of it if you just flipped the burden onto the people that are doing the experiment. Instead of the NIH or NIDA saying you must do some type of animal research as part of this approval process or part of this experiment or as part of this grant that we're giving, that the researchers had to actively defend why they needed to cause all of this pain and suffering and why they can't get that information some other way, that you could still then object to the practice of it, but you would probably get rid of almost all of it through that.
But, to Robbie's to Robbie's point, I do think that with the COVID vaccines, they did skip the animal trials and went straight to people. I think that did happen. I think for that particular one, and so we are.
But we didn't. But we notably did not do with COVID. There were not human challenge trials. There were not take the vaccine and then we're going to expose you to COVID and see how well it works. They did not do that. They just vaccinated in the population in an area where they hoped there was going to be, or there was an outbreak, or they hoped there was going to be an outbreak, waited for enough people to get it. They did not deliberately expose anyone to the virus to test the vaccine, because they were prohibited from doing so, which slowed down authorization of the vaccines. Many people have argued, I've argued that it would have been perfectly ethical with people's permission, if they consent to it and are compensated for it, to give them the vaccine and expose them to the pathogen and see how they fare. And that would, obviously don't give it to a 90-year-old man, give it to someone in peak physical health and have, but the potential upside of doing that, again, with the person's cost, not to anyone, or with their permission, not to anyone surreptitiously, but would have been ethical, and the good would have outweighed the. I believe in consent. I think if people consent to things, the government should not intervene.
Yeah, so that's kind of my point. Is like, look, they skipped it with that, we're collecting the data, and so why couldn't they do that for many other types of drugs that they're developing and
scientists
testing?
Health people tend to be very against experimentation on humans and very for experimentation on animals, as far as I can tell.
We do clinical trials. That's all experimentation on humans, right? We're doing it. Well, that's what a clinical trial is.
Right.
We're doing it. So I think the question is, can we then skip the animal trial and go straight to the clinical trial with people without there being? But they'll
never expose people to diseases to find out if it works. They are utterly against doing that. So.
But let's just shoot up beagles with cocaine.
Yeah. No. So bad. We all feel it in our heartstrings.
At least maybe they were doped up and they didn't feel anything bad. That's the only consolation on that, is they were too high to know anything else.
No, I doubt it.